Welcome back to MMA Al Dente. I am the dumbass who picked Benoit Saint Denis to defeat Dustin Poirier. Poirier's a legend, okay? But he's now over 35 years old, and he was knocked out 6 months ago. Need I say more? I'll get to that fight in a few minutes, but I'm here to start at the top, talking about UFC 299's main event. Sean O'Malley defeats Cheeto Vera, gets his revenge. He now has close to perfect record, but he was not tested here. Sean O'Malley dominated this fight. I thought he looked incredible. I thought he had whatever halfway big moments there were in the fight, and he had every small moment as well. Dominated. Cheeto Vera, I could only say he looked durable. I was picking him to win because I thought he'd be durable and dangerous, and instead there was no danger here. He proved to be as tough as ever, came as close as he's ever come to getting hurt. I think some people thought he was hurt, but he was never really in that much danger. Just Sean O'Malley was definitely in no danger for 25 minutes. So, not a great performance for Cheeto Vera, but Sean O'Malley did what he needed to do here. He got revenge. He got a clean sweep, dominated the whole fight, and really outclassed Cheeto Vera. Outclassed him, striking so well from the outside, just bullying him. And Cheeto looked 3 or 4 steps behind. So Sean O'Malley now, he's a star. He's one of the biggest stars. He's the bantamweight king, though. I'd like to see him fight for the bantamweight title against, or defend his bantamweight title against Marab, which I do think will happen next. But he's angling for a fight with Ilia Topuria, which I would love to see that too. I know he's only defended his title once, and we can't keep going with all this champion versus champion WrestleMania 6 shit. It's got to be there's got to be some order to the divisions. But I'm a sucker for a super fight, so whatever. But I do hope Marab gets the next title shot. I hope his next fight is for the title, and I think it's a very interesting clash for Sean O'Malley. Sean O'Malley is definitely a much better striker on the outside than Marab Dwalishvili, but Marab, unlike Cheeto Vera, who can sit back and be the patient killer, Marab is not patient, not as much of a killer, but very impatient. He's going to bring the fight. He will at least fight for your money in a way that I feel like Cheeto Vera did not. But this was the Sugar Show, and he looked fucking incredible, Sean O'Malley. Incredible first title defense, and just an extra bit of sweetness that he gets his revenge. And now he has a very clean record, 14-1 or whatever, and he just took care of the guy that beat him. But yeah, and Cheeto Vera, this was his moment in the sun and not one of his better performances. He really kind of shit the bed here, fell flat. And I'm now going to talk about Dustin Poirier taking out Benoit Saint Denis at 2:32. That's right, it was 2 seconds over the 1.5 round mark. But this was awesome. This was the fight of the night. It's already got some people suggesting it's fight of the year or whatever. It was an incredible fight. Poirier versus, let me get their fucking faces in here. I'm selling you guys a fucking Egg McMuffin. I guess this show is sponsored by the fucking Egg McMuffin, whatever's down there in the bottom right of the screen. But Dustin Poirier had one of his best performances ever here. And I say that because he was tested and he did get his ass kicked and bullied around in this fight, but he did what veterans do, especially high level veterans, and he tamed the guy, tamed the youngster. Benoit Saint Denis, I think, was on track to lose the fight anyway. I thought for a few minutes before the knockout that Poirier was going to end up pulling away, kind of like Rosenstruck, although probably more dominantly, but not that wasn't dominant with Rosenstrike. But Benoit Saint Denis, his chin failed him here. I don't think his heart would have failed him. I think Benoit Saint Denis could have taken a beating like he did against Zaleski. But Dustin Poirier is dangerous. Very dangerous guy. Has some of the best hands in the UFC in any division. And he hit him with a beautiful right hook. Same punch he knocked out Connor with. And he sat him on his ass, and Benoit Saint Denis wasn't getting up. Just an incredible fight because Benoit Saint Denis really took it to him in round one. I thought he was landing the harder shots, beat up Poirier, had him hurt, ripped him to the mat, was just physically imposing. But Poirier took it all, and then when it was his turn, again, I don't want to make like Benoit Saint Denis quit or whatever, but Poirier took him out. A right hook took him out of the fight. Incredible fight for Poirier, and I have to emphasize this again. This is not a fight he needed to take. It's a fight. If I was his manager, I would have been saying, "What are you fucking crazy? We're not doing this. You're gonna fight Conor McGregor or fucking Jake Paul or Justin Bieber or someone. You have a few fights left. Don't waste one of them on this French fucking killer who's got no name." But here, he gave him a shot, gave him a chance at having a name, and Benoit Saint Denis would have been a made man after this. And instead, Dustin Poirier looks as good as he's ever looked, and now I don't know what he's doing next, but it's going to be a huge fight in one way or another. So really regains his momentum, takes away the stain of that Justin Gaethje head kick, and hands Benoit Saint Denis his first finish loss and his first lightweight loss, and it may have changed him as a fighter. That was a nice knockout, but either way, I have faith Benoit Saint Denis will go on to do good things, and this win will get better with age before Poirier even retires. So great win for Poirier. Tough loss for Saint Denis, but no shame, in losing to one of the best lightweights ever. And now I will talk about this fight. Michael Venom Page beat Kevin Holland. This was a tough fight for Kevin Holland. I thought he had the fuck is she doing? More McDonald's stuff. Buy the McDonald's drink or whatever that is there. Kevin Holland was a step behind Michael Venom Page. Michael Venom Page was too sound on the feet, too quick, too athletic, and Kevin Holland was not physically imposing enough to change the course of the fight. He did get him down early in round one or late in round one or whatever, but Kevin Holland was behind in this fight, and I think he knew so. In the end, round three, he started bringing out some taunts and whatever, but it looked pretty desperate. I wish Kevin Holland would have won because I like him as a fighter, but Michael Venom Page, this guy, I like him a lot too, and at 36 years old, you can say, it's too late to get going in the UFC. He's already starting in the top half of the division, the tippy top, just beating Kevin Holland. This was a huge fight. He's not going to have to fight the Charlie Ontiveroses of the world. He's already above Kevin Holland, and I hope he gets going again soon before he gets too old. But he looked fantastic, Michael Venom Page. I think he had to win a decision here. I had a hard time envisioning him getting Kevin Holland out of there because no one's ever knocked him out. Wonderboy got a doctor stoppage, and I don't think Michael Venom Page had a chance to submit him. But he worked hard, looked really good for 15 full minutes. And again, I think he made Kevin Holland look flustered. And Kevin Holland now, he doesn't have a lot of momentum. He's got a few losses in a row, and he's been a step behind some good strikers here. So he's a guy that I think, he's still young and he's still improving, but I wish he could make more of his ground game because it could have come in handy against Jack Della Maddalena and Michael Venom Page if he was a little stronger in that area. But Michael Venom Page, yeah, great fucking win. This was a tough fight to get a finish, so I think he did what he needed to do. Speaking of Jack Della Maddalena, my God, 3:43 that was. That was a minute left in the fight, and I thought Gilbert Burns was winning that fight. A minute and a half or whatever left in the fight. But Jack Della Maddalena was able to handle himself well on the ground with Gilbert Burns all over him and then turned the tides and clipped him and took out Gilbert Burns for the first time since Usman and only the third time in his career. This was, I can't call it a comeback or whatever, but it was a very competitive fight. I thought Gilbert Burns' wrestling was there for him. I thought he was losing the stand-up battle, but still had some nice right hands that were keeping him in it. And Jack just made shit happen when he needed to. This was a very big victory, a clutch victory. And Jack Della Maddalena, he's soaring. I mean, he's had some tests and whatever, but he's passed every one of them. And you'll hear me the next time talk about how he was taken down by Gilbert Burns and Basil Hafez and whatever the fuck. But he's passed every test. And Gilbert Burns did have his way at moments, but Jack handled himself and got him out of there in the most clutch situation. So this was an epic victory for Jack Della Maddalena. I'd be interested in seeing what the scorecard said, and I'd probably have to rewatch the fight to even know what my scorecard was. But I know it was very close, and I thought Gilbert Burns was going to win the fight when he was controlling him in round three. So great win for Jack, and for Burns, this is a tough loss. He was very competitive, but now he's 37 years old, 37 in 7 months. He'll be 38, let's say, by the next time he fights, especially with the recovery from the knockout. And now he's just got another knockout added to his chin. So his profile changes here, but he still looked very good in a competitive fight with a guy who could be fucking champion before long. So not bad, but great win for Jack. And we got Piotr Yan and Song Yadong. This was a very good fight. I thought Piotr Yan performed like a champion. He was still losing round one, which I was hoping he would have come out of the gate guns a-blazing, but instead he tamed Song Yadong after dropping round one. Song was very much in this fight. I thought he was obviously the harder puncher, but Piotr Yan, I thought, was the better striker overall, really mixing shit up very well. And I thought he started to take over the striking in round two. And of course, in the final minute of two and three, I believe, he ripped Song Yadong to the mat with a beautiful double leg, which, again, this guy's got underrated wrestling. It is there for him in clutch situations deep into a competitive fight. And he was able to outpoint Song Yadong. I thought it was a very close fight, but I thought it was a clear decision for Yan. I don't think this could have gone either way. But Song Yadong, he's a guy who's only lost to the very best since being in the UFC, and of course his loss to Kyler Phillips just got better last night after Kyler beat Pedro Munoz. But here he was competitive with Yan, but a step behind. This was a definite tough test, and Yan, under some shittier circumstances in his first 3 round fight in a long time. Actually, he fought O'Malley in a 3 rounder, but that was another one where you see what can happen in a 3 round fight. Yan making his reads and taking over the course of a long fight. That's not there for him in a 15-minute fight, but he still made it happen. Tame Song Yadong looked really good, mixing it up, and I thought walked away with a clear win. So Yan bounces back in a big way. This was a very tough test, and he's not going to reach a championship until he wins another fight or two because he's behind some guys like Marab distinctly. But there's still a pathway back to the title, especially if Aljo is out of the division. And next up, Curtis Blades versus Jailton Almeida. This was awesome. A TKO 36 seconds into round two. He got him against the cage. Well, Jailton got him against the cage, and Curtis Blades took him out. Curtis Blades looked like a guy who knew, I have to strike while I can. I have a moment of offense before this guy's all over me like he just was in round one, where round one, he took him down. I don't know how many times. They were talking like he might have taken him down 13 times in round one. It was between 1 and 13 times with a bunch of mat returns. But either way, Jailton was in full control. Like we've never seen anybody in control over Curtis Blades. And Blades pounced on him with a moment, a little window where he could strike his head. And Blades went with hammer fist, not the Travis Brown elbows, but hammer fist, and didn't stop until Jailton rolled over limp. That was an incredible win for Curtis Blades. I think we learned more about him as a fighter here, seeing somebody all over him like that. And I liked him getting up. Again, Jailton kept ripping him back to the mat, but Curtis wasn't giving him that round one dominance that Jailton has with everyone else. He threw in a hook once or twice, and maybe he threw in both hooks, but Curtis never really gave him control. And Curtis pounced when he needed to and got one of the biggest wins of his career, handing Jailton Almeida, who could still reach the heights, the championship. He hands him a very big loss, and his first loss in whatever, close to 10 years, 8 years, whatever. So great win for him. And for Jailton, he's a guy who's been knocked out twice. His last loss, I think, was a knockout in 20 seconds to this guy, Tiago Moreira. And now Curtis Blades, who did knock him silly here. I don't know if he went completely unconscious or whatever, but he was limp. So he's a little more fragile now. Macy Barber and Caitlin Chukagan, or Caitlin Sermonara. And Caitlin Sermonara is one of the best fighters in the last few years, 10 years really. She's been one of the best UFC fighters, but here she was fighting a girl in Macy Barber who has a lot of momentum despite some close decisions, a lot of hype despite some early losses, and uh, a hell of a punch. I think she won this fight with power and also strength on the inside. She was the bully once they were in tight. Caitlin Chukagan was out muscled, out strength, and on the outside, Caitlin Chukagan had that outside striking working for her, but she's not imposing enough to ever really dominate a fight. Even a lot of her wins are very close fights, and in this one, she wasn't having any big moments against Macy, and Macy's power did what Song Yadong's power could have done and took the decision. Really got the better of Caitlin Chukagan, and I thought Chukagan had a good shot at winning. I thought she won round two, I believe. I'd have to rewatch the fight. And then Macy Barber took that fight back. So it was a great performance from Macy. And for Caitlin Chukagan, she still looks as good as she's ever looked, I guess. I don't think she's lost a step here, but her lack of danger has haunted her here. You know, it doesn't always come back to bite her in the ass because she's an excellent point fighter. But here, she could have used a little more power, danger. Obviously for the chance at a finish, but also some big moments in a fight. And Macy, still very young, fucking excellent win for her. Gamrot and RDA. This was not a lopsided fight, but a clear win for Mateusz Gamrot. RDA did hurt him, dropped him. He definitely dropped him. I don't know how badly he was hurt, but Mateusz Gamrot, I don't know if he gets hurt. I think, he just gets dropped, if that makes sense. But he got up. He was all over RDA, ripping him to the mat, and that was really the story of the fight. Mateusz Gamrot's a guy that if you can't stop his takedown, you're going to lose the fight. Even if you can keep getting up, because if he can take you down, he's going to control you. And that was the story of this fight. RDA might be the better striker and jiu-jitsu guy, but he's the weaker wrestler, and Mateusz Gamrot's got a gas tank that can certainly help him out in any fight, especially a 3-round fight. The guy can push really fucking hard. So this one was close, maybe 29-28 maybe, I think, on two judges' scorecards, but not really. Mateusz Gamrot really bullied Rafael Dos Anjos, and yeah, he's fucking awesome. Mateusz Gamrot could still reach the championship. This guy is an amazing fighter. And for RDA, he's one of my favorite fighters. He's got the toughest resume of all time. Maybe Dan Henderson would have something to say about that. But yeah, he's just he's too old and past it, and the guy doesn't take easy fights. He's always fighting killers. Kyler Phillips beat Pedro Munoz. This was kind of like Sean O'Malley versus Marlon Cheeto Vera. I thought Kyler Phillips did really, really well on the outside, and Pedro Munoz just was at an athletic disadvantage, at a physical disadvantage here, and it never really made anything work for him. His leg kicks weren't there for him. Sometimes that's a story of the fight. Kyler Phillips was wise to that. And Kyler Phillips is also great with the stance switching and all that. And Pedro Munoz, I also think he is the more powerful puncher. But Kyler Phillips, overall cleaner striker, and Pedro Munoz was a step and a half behind this whole fight. Tough loss for Pedro because he's one of my favorite fighters, although just like Cheeto Vera, he looked as durable as ever. But Kyler Phillips is an awesome fighter. This guy now, whatever, he's 6-1 in the UFC. Let me look at his fucking record here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, Six. All right, 6-1 in the UFC. Yeah, that's incredible. This was easily his best win, although actually Song Yadong's his best win. It's gotten better with age, but this Pedro Munoz is easily his second best win, and he looked phenomenal doing so. I've had doubts about this guy's cardio and whatever too, and I guess I'll say the same shit in his next video. But uh, there, when you watch him fight, he looks like the perfect fighter, and the guy's a mean grappler as well. So, just a really solid performance from Kyler Phillips. Can't wait to see that guy fight again. Felipe Lins versus Iwan Kutalaba. Iwan Kutalaba, uh, really tough, gritty performance, but really limited. Felipe Lins dominated this fight with his leg kicks. I think he had multiple chances to get him out of there. But Iwan Kutalaba is a guy that has that danger, especially for a guy like Lins who's been knocked out a few times, where Kutalaba would just turn it on anytime, he was backed into a corner, like the fucking rabid dog that he is, which I really wish they let this guy fight in green body paint. I don't know why these fucking commissions have to be so, nah, whatever. But Felipe Lins dominated this fight with his kicks, and Iwan Kutalaba's danger and power was taken away, I thought, early in round one. And then everything just looked desperate. He, scared Felipe Lins at moments, but Felipe Lins just chopped him up. Lins now has a few wins at the light heavyweight. He beat Maxim Grishin. Oh, bro, yeah, he's looked really good as wow, a lot of fucking a lot of canceled fights. It must have been some COVID shit. But Felipe Lins has really looked good as a light heavyweight. And he's a guy who you'll hear me talk about next time. Yeah, I doubt his durability because he's been knocked out so many times. And he's 38 years old. He'll be 39 by the next time he fights. But, well, probably not. But he looked incredible here. And he's looked incredible in his last few fights. Speaking of looking incredible, fucking Michel Pereira, this guy fucking looked incredible on his way out to the octagon, doing his little dance there, and then inside the octagon, he got him out of there in a minute. Mika Oleksiejczuk's always had a weak submission defense, and Michel Pereira, I mean, he could have gotten the knockout. He knocked him down with a body shot and knocked him against the cage, but didn't even waste any time. Just pounced on a rear naked choke because he saw that the neck was sitting there as he turned the corner, and he squeezed till he got the tap. It was an awesome finish from Michel Pereira. This was, again, a victory you could attribute to his striking, but he did show he's got a mean rear naked choke, and it was there for him here. And he's also shown to be an excellent middleweight fighter. He's a guy who came up from welterweight as opposed to Oleksiejczuk, who came down from light heavyweight fucking many years ago. But still, Pereira's the harder puncher and the stronger fighter and the harder kicker as well here. I thought if these guys were tied up, Pereira would have muscled them around. Instead, it never got to that because it was settled with power on the outside, and he put him away with body shots. So great win for Michel Pereira and Mikhail Oleksiejczuk. This was a really tough loss. It's another submission loss, but yeah, the strikes are what got the ball rolling. So his profile changes a little bit because he's never been knocked out. He was TKO'd once on the ground before he got to the UFC. Speaking of knockouts and TKOs, Rebelis Despain knocked out Josh Parisian, and it took him 18 seconds. So you know this guy's really slowing down. It's fucking over. He's too old. But still, incredible victory. 18 seconds, striking on the back foot. He threw a kick and fell on his ass, which I'm not saying, like, making fun of him, whatever. That can happen. Fucking slippery mats and whatever. I know the guy knows how to throw a kick. But after he got up, Josh Parisian did what he should have done and charged him, but he wasn't able to get a hold of his hips. Instead, he backed away, Rebelis, and teed off on him at range. The guy's got so much reach, so much height, and so much power that that can happen to a lot of heavyweights inside the UFC, especially the weaker athletes. And Rebelis, I thought he could have been tested here, And I would have liked to have seen him tested, see what he looked like in round two, being put on his back at moments and whatever. But Josh Parisian wasn't the guy to do that. Josh Parisian, who's a much more refined fighter and whatever, is still a lumbering heavyweight. And Rebels de Spain is an exceptional athlete with exceptional height and reach and power and striking. So Taekwondo. So excellent knockout for him. Excellent debut. He is 35 years old in 7 months. I'd like to see him get into the octagon again within the next 2 weeks. Hopefully they can fucking book him. But if not, make it soon. Asu Amabayev beat CJ Vergara by decision. This was a largely a dominant fight from Asu Amabayev, but I thought CJ Vergara looked tough like he always does. This guy can take it, CJ. He's a real scrappy fighter, and even though he's been controlled by a bunch of guys, he's always shown that scrap. And I thought there was a chance he was going to turn things around towards the end. But the takedowns were always there for Asu Amabayev. Sometimes he got takedowns under some serious pressure, and he's got an awesome shot and really good striking to set it up as well. But yeah, it was the grappling that was the difference here, and it was largely a dominant fight. Great win for Amabayev. I thought this was a fight where he could have gotten a submission, but CJ Vergara, while everybody will be quick to write him off, myself included, he's definitely uh, a lot tougher than he's going to be given credit for. So a good effort for Asu Amabayev. Not the best victory. I'm sure it won't age too well. I don't know if CJ Vergara is going to stick around the UFC for so long. But here, in the immediate wake of this fight, I can say that was a really good effort against a tough fighter. Speaking of fucking tough fighters, this was an awesome fight. I thought Joanne Wood was going to get dominated after round one, and especially because she had 1 foot out the door. She announced her retirement. I just thought it's over. Marina Moroz, I thought, could have submitted her off her back, certainly, like she did early, and most of her submission wins do come from the guard, but also on top, because I think Joanne Wood is still just weak, has weak submission defense when someone's dominating her. But she took over that fight in round two. I thought she won the fight. I thought she won rounds 2 and 3 and took over the fight anyway, where she won with her striking, which was more effective down the stretch. But she sealed the deal with that spinning back fist, which rocked Marina Moroz. Marina Moroz, a very tough girl historically, and Joanne Wood rocked her and wasn't able to close the show, but it was the cherry on top for her retirement fight. And she's a girl who's been, I don't want to say like a star or whatever, but she's been in a high profile UFC fighter since she came into the UFC, because she came into the UFC through the Ultimate Fighter season 20 or 25, one of those fucking seasons, where it was the Tournament of Champions and whatever the fuck. And she came in as the seventh ranked fighter in the division, and that's how they made their debut. So she was a ranked fighter from the get go with a lot of those girls, and she's had nothing but tough fights. Her first fight really was against Marina Moroz, and Marina Moroz armbarred her. And since then, she battled back, nearly reached the title shot, the title fight. She actually earned it, but things didn't go her way, as they covered in the broadcast. And here, she gets a small chance at redemption in her retirement fight, and in a gritty fucking effort, real gritty effort, Joanne Wood gets it done. Split decision, I believe, but I definitely thought she should have won. And yeah, I'm really happy for her. Really happy for her, even though she cost me some fucking money. But Marina Moroz, she looked tough here. She looked good early on. Just not able to make the most of her strength advantage. I thought she could have bullied around Joanne Wood, and she was early on, but Joanne Wood was the better fighter down the stretch. So tough loss for her, but again, a great fucking victory for Joanne Wood. That really made that made my night, and it was the first fight of the night. So altogether, an awesome event, UFC 299. A lot of history made here. And Sean O'Malley, that's the story of the night, really. Well, I guess Dustin Poirier would be my headline. But Sean O'Malley, it was the Sugar Show. and he got a dominant fucking victory over Chito Vera. All right, the video cut off, so I'm just adding this. Like, share, subscribe, all that horse shit, and check out my other videos. The end.